Hi, Brandon Parsons here. Welcome back to the Abode Mode, where we talk about everything when it comes to your home. Today I want to talk about mold. It's in every house literally on the planet. The thing is if it builds up in the wrong way, it can be very detrimental to your house. It can cause anything from allergies to asthma, sometimes even death, and it can be very, very, very toxic for your environment. So most homes that I go into do have a bigger mold problem than most people realize. And it's like, well, how do I know when my house has mold in it, right? And what can I do about these things? So what I want to do is just give you a few quick tips, areas that you can look in to check to see like how your house is holding up. Okay, so the first and easiest place to spot mold, in my opinion, is in our attic. Our houses, as we've become more energy efficient, they are more airtight, meaning we have better windows. We have better appliances that put off more moisture. We have, compared to houses 50, 60 years ago, we have more showers in our houses, and we don't think about that. All that moisture has to escape. If the roof is not ventilated correctly, that can become trapped inside the attic. Now, that can present a big problem because what that does is once it starts attaching to the roof decking and structure, that can grow rapidly, especially since attics get very, very hot, humid in the summertime. So one of the best things to do is just, obviously, if you're not comfortable with it, don't do it. But if you are comfortable and you do have a mask, the easiest thing to do is when you look inside that attic space, if your wood looks like it's in good condition, it probably is, but you definitely want to double check and make sure, or if you're not comfortable with it, then have a certified inspector or a mold expert check your attic, make sure that there's not any mold growing in there, that the roof's ventilated the right way, because the last thing you want is that stuff growing inside of your home. The next place to check for mold is in your basement. So if your house does not manage the water correctly and that water is starting to intrude inside the basement, it can cause big problems, especially if you have a finished basement with drywall. If the contractor or the homeowner, whoever finished the basement, didn't use the right type of moisture-resistant drywall, that can lead to big problems, because what happens is the pores start attaching themselves to the drywall and then they spread, and before you know it, you have a big mold problem. You definitely don't want to be breathing that in. It's also a good idea to check the basement's humidity content to make sure that it's staying about 30% year-round. You don't want it to get any higher than that. That can cause major, major issues in the house, because then if the environment is correct for mold to grow, it will. And then it's going to attach itself to the things on the inside, like our wood joists that run under the floorboards, right? Wood in a natural environment, those are the places that mold grows. So of course they're going to grow if the environment is correct inside of our homes, and that's the last place we want to have them grow. Another place that a lot of people kind of forget about is windows. So if the window is performing correctly, you shouldn't really have any issues. But when the windows start to fail, you'll see they start to sweat on them, because what happens is the seal breaks over time, and it's just like a cold can of Coke when you set it down and that can of Coke sweats, right? Well, that's the same thing that happens with the window. In the wintertime, when it's cold outside and that cold air hits that glass, you got hot air on the inside, the window condensates. Now, when you have water on the inside in a humid environment, it's going to create mold. It can get inside the wall and grow. It can grow right on the window itself. I've seen that plenty of times, and these are just not things. These are hazardous environments you don't want to be breathing in, and you don't want it to cause you big issues. So those are definitely in a quick, easy area to check is your windows. Just look around the bottom of them. Make sure that there's not water getting in or water stains on the glass. And, with drywall, plaster, any kind of water that gets on it's going to be pretty self-evident. If you do have bubbling paint, things like that, that's a problem. You want to get that addressed before it turns into a bigger one. The most expensive job we do is the one we do on Mother Nature's terms, not our own. Last thing, just real quick, you can check is your gutters and your siding system. So obviously the roof is important. It keeps the water out on the outside, but if you've had somebody check the attic, they should have looked for leaks while they're in there. We don't think a lot of times about our siding. Now, if that wasn't installed correctly, meaning that, when they install siding, they're supposed to put a backing behind it or a vapor barrier, okay? It's also a moisture barrier. So what happens is, if that's not present, I can tell you it happened to my sister. The contractor built her house in 2000. They did not put a moisture barrier behind the siding when they built it. She had to have the whole outside of the house resheathed because that water over time had gotten back there and caused the black mold to grow, and you don't see it because it's behind vinyl, right, or aluminum. That's not going to grow mold. It's the wood that's behind there. So an easy thing you can do is just pop apart a little panel, just pull it out with your hand, use a flashlight in there, and just make sure that there's either a Tyvek material or it's tar paper a lot of times. It's just a moisture barrier to make sure that any water that gets behind there stays on the outside of the home, and it's designed to do that. It's a really simple thing to check, but a lot of people miss that. So hopefully these 4 simple tips are easy. They're not exhaustive, obviously, but I just want to give like the 4 most common areas that I see these things growing in homes so that you can just check it, kind of give a finger on the pulse of your home. The best thing obviously to do is hire an expert, have them out to your house, double check these things if something seems funky. But the first place to start is if something does seem funky, it probably is, right? So that's just a really quick, easy thing to do just to stay proactive when it comes to your house. Now, if this was helpful for you, please like my page, subscribe. I'm going to continue to do these things on the abode mode. My #1 goal is to make sure that you have a healthy, happy home. Thank you so much for watching.